Today we will be talking about turning points in history. The first turning point we'll be discussing is the Neolithic Revolution.
Our second turning point is the Russian Revolution. During the Neolithic Revolution, the hunter and gatherers changed their culture to become settlements, making it possible to have larger populations. With the larger populations, they needed more food, so they began to plant stuff. The reason the Neolithic Revolution is considered a turning point is because it completely changed the way people lived. Not only did it change how the people of that time period lived, but it paved the way for future settlements to develop more into what they are. If the Neolithic Revolution had not occurred when it did, there is a very high chance that we as a community would not live the way that we live today. Another part of the Neolithic Revolution was that they domesticated animals. Part of the reason they domesticated the animals was for food. The other reason was so they could travel on horseback or, depending on where they lived, different animals. Now, because they became settled, they started new governments. With governments, there came different cultures. Some of the plants and animals that people of the Neolithic Revolution began to domesticate are wheat, barley, chickpeas, sheep, goats, cattle, and pig.
I have domesticated plants and animals. Who's terrified of me right now?
One of the tools from the Neolithic Revolution was a scraper. Now, scrapers were just pretty basic tools. They were used to kill and butcher animals and then take the hide off of them so that you did not eat a bunch of fur. They also had blades, which instead of just cutting up an animal, it was used to be inserted farther and get closer to a bone.
Be more precise, if you will.
They also had arrows and spearheads. Again, not that much changed. They just actually used them a lot less now that they had a lot of domesticated animals. It was much easier to kill. Axes they used a lot more often because now they had to build their own homes, which means they had to cut down trees and stuff. They also had hammers and chisels, which again, that was for just a lot of building their new homes and for later in the Neolithic Revolution for building pens for different animals.
The next turning point is going to be the Russian Revolution. Russia had a Tsar named Nicholas II. The peasants were treated really bad, and they did not like the Tsar at all. Tsars basically have their own ruling, and they don't care anything about their people. The peasants revolted and became the radicals that are known today. Vladimir Lenin targeted the peasants to get voted in. The peasants took up most of the population, so he knew that if he targeted them, that he would get in office really fast. His slogan was peace, land, and bread, and that basically promised the people peace, that they would eventually get land, and there was a huge food shortage, so they promised that bread represented them having a bunch of food. Lenin formed the Russian Provisionary Government. His group was known as the Bolsheviks, and he had his military was called the Red Guards. It was basically individual military guys just going around and making sure everything was in order, but they were very rude and very bad to the people, which they tried to get away from, and he basically became sort of a czar, but in his own way. The Bolsheviks were associated with the color red, communism. So the people that were against the Bolsheviks were known as the non-Bolsheviks, very creative name, and it kind of created a civil war between Russia because so many people were against him, but they knew that he was better than the Tsar, so it was kind of tough to choose. Eventually, the peasants won, and the non-Bolsheviks won, and it became the USSR. This is a turning point because it paved the way for a lot of people that the peasants weren't getting what they wanted. And even though it took them a few tries to get a right leader, they knew that it would be okay. And peasants gained control, and they actually redistributed land, so they did get land. And eventually the bread and peace came later because it became okay.
For 300 years, mighty Russia was ruled by a guy called the Tsar. And everything was cool. But when the rich people started eating all of the food, we peasants got upset and we started to brood. All we want is
Peace, land and bread.
everybody sing.
Peace, land and bread.
I'll hit the louder.
Land and bread.
Hey, how would you like it if you had to wait in line an hour for a potato? Yeah, and it's another life of
Butter and sour cream. Poor, really, really mean. Potsky, land and bread. Peace, land and bread.
and threw up his hands as land and removed.
Go from his head.
He said, "Oh, this'll go."
Buy a lot of peace, land and bread. Land and bread.
Everybody.
Peace, land and bread. Okay. Edit that part? Okay.
Peace. There you go. What's up? Just me, totally no one else here. Oh, I don't know what that was. There you go. There's our project. That's it. We're good. Okay? Bye. Thanks.